Chosen one, what if I told you they always knew? From the moment you began to awaken, they have been watching, waiting, and now they are closing in. The spiritual battle you feel is real. You are not imagining it. Your awakening has made you a threat. The moment you stepped into your power, the forces that control this world took notice. Now, the question is, will you escape before it's too late? The moment you started seeing beyond the illusion, everything changed. The people around you started acting differently. Strange obstacles appeared in your life, and suddenly, you found yourself facing attacks from unexpected directions. This is not a coincidence. The chosen ones are being monitored, watched, and for some, hunted in ways they never expected. They fear what you are becoming because they know the power inside you. In this video, I will reveal the 5 undeniable signs that prove they know who you are and are actively trying to stop you. But once you recognize what's happening, you will have the power to break free. Stay until the end because the final sign is the one that determines whether or not you make it out. Like in comment 77 if you feel like everything in your life has been shifting in ways you can't explain. The first sign is your awakening has triggered opposition. The moment you began to wake up, something shifted. It wasn't just an internal realization. It was as if the very fabric of your world started to tear at the seams. The things that once seemed normal no longer made sense. The people you once trusted started acting differently. The relationships you thought were built on solid ground suddenly became unstable, and for reasons you couldn't quite explain, life itself seemed to be pushing you into isolation. At first, you may have wondered if you were imagining it, if maybe you were just overanalyzing things. But then the pattern became undeniable. The very moment you stepped into awareness, the world around you responded with resistance. This was not an accident. It was not random. It was a calculated response to the fact that you were no longer asleep. There is a reason this happens, and it has nothing to do with coincidence. It is because the moment you step into truth, you become a threat to the forces that control this world. They operate through deception, keeping the masses blind through distraction, manipulation, and fear. As long as you were asleep, you were no danger to them. But the moment your perception began to shift, they noticed. The moment you started questioning, seeking, breaking free from the programming, you sent a signal into the unseen realm. And they responded. This opposition does not always come in obvious ways. It starts subtly. People in your life who once supported you begin to distance themselves. Conversations that used to flow effortlessly now feel strained. Friends who once enjoyed your company now seem uncomfortable in your presence. Sometimes, the change is even more dramatic. Betrayals, sudden conflict, relationships ending without explanation. The people you thought you could rely on now seem to be working against you, whether they realize it or not. And that is the key to understanding this battle. Many of them do not even know why they are turning against you. They are simply responding to the shift in your energy. The Bible warns us in Ephesians 6 verse 12 that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. This means that what you are experiencing is not just a physical struggle, it is a spiritual one. The people turning against you are not always aware of the forces working through them. But those forces are very aware of you. They recognize that your awakening poses a risk to the system they have built, and they will do everything in their power to pull you back in. Think about the story of Moses. The moment he discovered who he truly was, not just an adopted prince of Egypt, but a chosen one called to lead his people to freedom, everything changed. He could no longer live in the illusion of comfort. The world he once knew turned against him, and he was forced to leave behind everything he had ever known. But that exile was not the end of his story. It was the beginning. And the same is happening to you. You may feel like an outcast. You may feel like the people you once considered family no longer understand you. But understand this, the opposition is proof that you are on the right path. They are not resisting you because you are wrong. They are resisting you because your awakening is exposing the truth they do not want to face. Some people will fight to stay asleep, and when they see you waking up, it terrifies them. It forces them to confront things they are not ready to see. And rather than doing the inner work themselves, they would rather try to pull you back down. This is why isolation often follows awakening. God is not punishing you by removing people from your life. He is protecting you. He is clearing the way for you to grow, to break free, to step into the fullness of who you were meant to be. But before that can happen, you must be willing to let go of what no longer serves you. You must understand that not everyone can come with you on this journey. Some people are too deeply tied to the system. Some will choose comfort over truth. Some will betray you to protect themselves. And some will actively work against you because they are controlled by forces they do not even recognize. Look at what happened to Jesus. The moment he began to reveal the truth, the religious leaders of his time turned against him. The very people who claimed to be waiting for the Messiah were the ones who sought to silence him. They did not reject him because he was wrong. They rejected him because his presence exposed their deception. And so it will be with you. The truth you carry will make some people uncomfortable. It will disrupt the false reality they have built for themselves. And rather than facing it, many will lash out at you instead. This is where most chosen ones stumble. They take the opposition personally. They try to reason with those who have turned against them, to explain, to make them understand. But you must realize that this is not about logic. This is about energy. When you awaken, you vibrate at a different frequency. Those who are not ready for that shift will either be drawn to you or repelled by you. There is no middle ground. So what do? You stand firm. You do not allow their rejection to shake your purpose. You do not allow their doubt to make you question yourself. And most importantly, you do not let the attacks pull you back into the illusion you have already begun to escape. Because that is exactly what they want. They want to exhaust you, to make you question everything, to make you feel isolated and alone so that you will surrender and return to the comfort of sleep. But you cannot unsee the truth. And once you know, you can never go back. This is the point where many fail the test. They mistake the opposition for a sign that they are on the wrong path when, in reality, it is confirmation that they are exactly where they are supposed to be. They let the pressure break them. They let fear drive them back into submission. But if you are truly chosen, you will not turn back. You will recognize the resistance for what it is, a sign that you are rising, that you are shifting into your higher purpose, and that they are afraid of what you will become if you keep going. If you have noticed that the people around you have started treating you differently since you began waking up, comment "awakened" below. Because acknowledging this shift is the first step to overcoming it. You are not alone in this battle. Every chosen one goes through it. The question is, will you pass the test? And this is only the beginning. What comes next will explain why the attacks against you are escalating, why it feels like every step forward is met with even greater resistance. The opposition is not just about people turning against you. It is about something much deeper. Stay with me, because the next sign will reveal what they are truly afraid of. The second sign is unexplainable setbacks and strange attacks. There was a time when life seemed to flow naturally. Even when challenges arose, they felt manageable, like obstacles that could be navigated with enough effort. But ever since your awakening, something changed. Suddenly, nothing seems to come easily anymore. No matter how hard you try, something is always pulling you back. The setbacks feel different now. More targeted, more precise, as if something is actively working against you. Plans that once came together effortlessly now fall apart at the last moment. Opportunities that once seemed within reach now slip through your fingers. And the most unsettling part? These attacks are not just external. They manifest in every area of your life. Your health, your relationships, your finances, and even your own mind. If you have felt this, you are not alone. This is not just a string of bad luck. It is not random misfortune. What you are experiencing is strategic resistance. And the reason is simple. You are a threat to them now. Before your awakening, you were not a concern. You were still operating within their system, playing by their rules, and unknowingly serving their agenda. But the moment you started to wake up, to question, to seek truth, to break free, they noticed. And they responded. This is something few people understand. The enemy does not waste energy attacking those who are still under control. If someone is moving through life without ever questioning, never pushing beyond the illusion, there is no need to stop them. They are already contained. But the moment a chosen one begins to break free, the resistance intensifies. The opposition becomes relentless. It is not because you are failing. It is because you are succeeding. It is because your energy, your purpose, your very existence threatens the carefully constructed deception that they have worked so hard to maintain. The Bible warns us of this in 1 Peter 5 verse 8, saying, "Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour." This is not just a poetic metaphor. It is a reality. The forces that control this world do not want you to see beyond their illusion. They want you to remain trapped in fear, in limitation, in a cycle of struggle that keeps you too exhausted to rise above it. And if they cannot keep you asleep, they will try to break you. One of the most common ways this resistance manifests is through sudden and unexplainable setbacks. You may find yourself facing financial difficulties that appear out of nowhere, unexpected expenses, lost opportunities, delayed payments, or even outright theft. It is as if every attempt to build stability is met with immediate opposition. Just when it seems like you are gaining momentum, something happens to drag you back down. This is not an accident. Financial instability is one of the most effective ways to keep someone in a state of fear and dependence. If they can keep you worried about how you will survive, how you will pay your bills, how you will provide for yourself and your family, then they can keep you distracted from your true purpose. Then there are the attacks on your health. You may have noticed that ever since your awakening, your body feels different. Unexplainable fatigue, sudden illnesses, injuries that seem to come out of nowhere. The body carries energy, and when you begin to vibrate at a higher frequency, it disrupts the patterns that once kept you contained. The resistance you face is not just external, it is spiritual. They understand that if they can weaken your body, they can weaken your spirit. A sick, exhausted, and struggling person is easier to control than one who is strong, vibrant, and full of life. And then there are the mental and emotional attacks. Doubt creeps in like a whisper, making you question everything. Thoughts that were never there before suddenly invade your mind. Thoughts of inadequacy, of unworthiness, of failure. It is as if something is trying to convince you that you are not capable, that you are not chosen, that this path is too difficult, and that you should give up now before it gets worse. These thoughts are not your own. They are planted, designed to break your spirit before you can fully step into your power. They will try to isolate you, to make you feel alone, as if no one else understands what you are going through. But this is another lie. Every chosen one has faced this moment. Every person who has stepped into their divine calling has encountered this resistance. Consider the story of Nehemiah. He was called to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem, a mission that would restore strength and protection to his people. But the moment he began his work, the opposition arose. Enemies mocked him, threatened him, and did everything in their power to stop him. They tried to distract him, to discourage him, to make him afraid. But Nehemiah refused to be shaken. He knew that the resistance was proof that he was doing something significant. And instead of giving up, he pressed forward, refusing to let fear dictate his actions. The walls were rebuilt, and his enemies were defeated, not because they stopped attacking, but because they failed to break his spirit. This is the test you are facing now. Will you allow the setbacks and attacks to break you, or will you see them for what they really are? Will you fall back into fear, or will you stand firm in your calling? Because that is the real battle. The attacks are designed to push you into submission, to make you believe that you are not strong enough to continue. But that is a lie. The very fact that you are experiencing this level of resistance is proof of who you are. It is proof that you are chosen. You must recognize this for what it is. Every financial setback, every illness, every emotional battle is a strategic move against you. And the moment you see through it, the power it holds over you begins to weaken. That is why faith is your greatest weapon. When you refuse to be shaken, when you choose to trust that every attack is just another sign that you are on the right path, you strip them of their control. If you are experiencing this right now, if you feel like everything has been trying to stop you lately but you refuse to give in, comment "protected" below. Because the moment you acknowledge what is happening, the moment you see the attacks for what they are, you begin to take back your power. And this is just the beginning. The opposition is real, but so is the victory. What comes next will reveal the deeper reason why you are being watched, why certain people are being placed into your life to test you, and how to recognize when you are being observed by forces that do not want you to escape. If these first two signs resonate with you, you need to stay until the end, because the final sign is the most important. It is the last test, the moment where everything is decided. Most people fail this test, and that's exactly what they want. If this message is hitting deep, drop a super thanks to support this channel and activate the next level of your spiritual protection. Also, make sure to turn on all notifications so you don't miss what's coming next. The third sign is you are being watched and tested. There comes a time in every chosen one's journey when they realize that the opposition they are facing is not just random misfortune or coincidental hostility. It is something far more calculated, something deliberate. You've seen the way certain people seem to appear in your life at just the right moments. Sometimes disguised as friends, sometimes as strangers, sometimes even as sudden mentors or acquaintances. But there is something about them that feels off. Their presence does not feel like a natural part of your journey. It feels orchestrated. Their interest in you goes beyond casual curiosity. They ask strange questions, probe into your thoughts, challenge your beliefs in ways that seem too specific to be accidental. You have likely noticed how some people's behavior shifts around you. Friends who once supported you now seem distant, as if they are observing you instead of truly engaging with you. Strangers give you long, knowing looks, as if they recognize something in you that even you are still coming to understand. And then there are the ones who seem to test you. They push your buttons, try to provoke a reaction, plant seeds of doubt, attempting to pull you back into old habits, old mindsets, old ways of thinking. They are watching you, monitoring your progress, waiting to see how you will respond. This is not paranoia. This is the reality of being chosen. They recognize that something in you has changed, that you are no longer who you once were, and this makes them uneasy. When you were asleep, they had no reason to observe you, no reason to interfere. But the moment you started to wake up, to question, to see beyond the illusion, you became a variable they could no longer ignore. And so they sent their agents, not in an obvious way, not as open enemies, but as subtle infiltrators, people strategically placed in your life to test your spirit. This pattern has played out for centuries. Even Jesus himself was tested in the wilderness. When he had fasted for 40 days and was at his weakest, Satan did not attack him with brute force. He did not attempt to destroy him outright. Instead, he came with words, with questions, with subtle manipulations designed to make Jesus doubt himself. He tried to twist scripture, to distort truth, to make Jesus react instead of standing firm. Luke 4 verse 13 tells us, "And when the devil had ended all the temptation, he departed from him for a season." This is crucial. He did not leave forever. He left for a season. This is exactly how they operate. They test you, they observe your reaction, and if they fail to shake you, they withdraw, but only temporarily. They wait for another moment of weakness, another moment when you might second-guess yourself, and then they return. The same thing is happening to you. There have been moments when you have felt like you were finally moving forward, like the resistance had eased up. But then, just as you begin to feel stable, another test appears. Someone enters your life who challenges everything you have come to believe. An old friend suddenly reaches out, tempting you with the comfort of your past. A new opportunity arises that seems perfect on the surface but carries an undertone of compromise. They are feeling you out, seeing if they can lure you back into the system, back into the mindset that once kept you in chains. The reason they do this is because they fear what you will become if you continue on this path. They know that if you fully step into your purpose, you will be unstoppable. So they test you at every step, looking for weak points, waiting to see if you will slip. And the most dangerous part of this is that not everyone sent into your life for this purpose is aware of what they are doing. Some of them are simply being used, influenced by forces they do not understand. They may genuinely believe they are acting in your best interest, trying to help you, trying to make you see reason. But make no mistake, their role in your journey is not accidental. You have to learn to recognize the difference between a test and a true obstacle. A test is designed to reveal your strength, to see if you will hold fast to your path despite the temptation to turn back. The obstacles they place in your way are not meant to stop you permanently, but to make you hesitate, to see if you can be controlled. Will you allow self-doubt to creep in? Will you let fear dictate your choices? Will you compromise, even just a little, for the sake of ease and comfort? The answer to these questions determines everything. Some people fail these tests without even realizing it. They assume that the setbacks, the challenges, the unexpected roadblocks are signs that they are on the wrong path, when in reality, they are confirmation that they are exactly where they need to be. This is why discernment is critical. You cannot afford to let every difficulty shake you. You cannot afford to take every opposition personally. The moment you recognize what is happening, the moment you see through the illusion, their power over you begins to crumble. They want you to believe that you are alone in this, that no one else understands what you are going through. But you are not alone. Every chosen one has faced this moment. Every person who has stepped into higher consciousness, who has pursued truth despite the cost, has been tested in this way. This is not the end of your journey. It is the refining fire that strengthens you for what is coming next. If you have noticed certain people being placed into your life just to test you, if you have felt the weight of this spiritual surveillance, comment "watched" below. Because the first step to overcoming their influence is acknowledging that it exists. They can only control those who do not recognize the game being played against them. But once you see it, once you understand the strategy, you become immune to their tactics. And this is only the beginning. Because the next sign reveals the ultimate weapon they use against chosen ones, the tool they rely on more than anything else to keep you from fully stepping into your power. The fourth sign is fear is their weapon, but you must not give in. Fear is the most powerful weapon they have, and they use it relentlessly. It is not an accident that the moment you begin to step into your calling, fear seems to tighten its grip around you. It is not just the fear of failure, but something deeper, more insidious. The fear of what will happen if you truly embrace who you are meant to be. They know that if they can make you hesitate, if they can make you doubt yourself, they can stop you before you even begin. They plant thoughts in your mind that were never yours to begin with. Whispers that say you are not ready, that you are not strong enough, that you will lose everything if you continue forward. These are not just random insecurities. These are strategies designed to keep you frozen in place. Fear has always been their tool of control. It is what they have used to shape the world, to keep people compliant, to keep the masses enslaved without them ever realizing it. Every system they have created is built on fear. Fear of rejection, fear of poverty, fear of punishment. From childhood, they condition you to be afraid, to seek approval, to avoid risks, to obey without questioning. Because a person who is afraid does not move forward. A person who is afraid does not challenge authority. A person who is afraid remains in the system, too paralyzed to escape. But fear is the greatest illusion of all. It is nothing more than smoke and mirrors, a shadow designed to look bigger than it really is. And the only power it has is the power you give it. The Bible reminds us in 2 Timothy 1 verse 7, "For God hath not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind." This means that fear is not something that comes from God. It is something imposed upon you, something external, something designed to break you before you can step into your full strength. This is why they attack your mind first. Before they can stop you physically, they must stop you mentally. They must convince you that you are too weak to fight, that you are too small to make a difference, that you are alone in this battle. They make you fear the unknown, fear stepping outside of the system, fear losing comfort, fear losing people. They make you believe that if you take that leap of faith, everything will fall apart. But the truth is, the only thing that will fall apart is the illusion they built around you. Look at the story of Gideon. When God called him to lead, his first reaction was fear. He saw himself as small, unqualified, incapable of the task before him. Judges 6 verse 15 records his words, "O my Lord, wherewith shall I save Israel? Behold, my family is poor in Manasseh, and I am the least in my father's house." He was afraid, but God did not choose him because he was fearless. He chose him because he knew that with faith, fear would have no hold on him. And the moment Gideon trusted in his calling, he became unstoppable. If you are feeling this battle, if you recognize the ways they have tried to use fear to keep you in place, comment "fearless" below. Because once you acknowledge it, once you name it, once you refuse to be ruled by it, it loses its power. And this is the part they never expected. They counted on you being afraid. They counted on you backing down. But you are stronger than they thought. You are closer than they ever anticipated. And what comes next will determine everything. Because there is one last trap, one final strategy they use when all else fails. But there is one last sign. This is the moment where most people fail. This is the final test, and it determines everything. If you can pass this, you will be free. But if you fail, you risk being pulled back into their control. Stay with me, because what I am about to reveal is the most important part of this message. The final sign is they will offer you a way out, but it's a trap. There comes a moment in every chosen one's journey when the battle shifts. The struggles, the setbacks, the opposition. Suddenly, they seem to fade away. Where once there was resistance, there is now an eerie silence. Where doors were slamming shut, now they are opening effortlessly. And just when you think you have finally broken free, an opportunity appears. It looks perfect. It feels like a blessing. It seems like the very thing you have been praying for. But there is something beneath the surface, something that doesn't quite sit right. This is not just a moment of relief, it is a test, the final and most dangerous one of all. When the enemy can no longer stop you with fear, when they can no longer shake you with opposition, they change tactics. Instead of fighting against you, they appear to offer you exactly what you have been looking for. The struggle ends, not because you have won, but because they are now using something far more subtle. A false escape, a path that appears to lead forward but actually loops back into their system. This is how they reclaim those who have almost slipped beyond their control. This is what happened to Jesus in the wilderness. After fasting for 40 days, he was weak, hungry, exhausted. And it was then that Satan came, not with open violence, but with an offer. He took Jesus to a high mountain and showed him all the kingdoms of the world, all their glory, all their power. And then he spoke, "All these things will I give thee, if thou wilt fall down and worship me." Matthew 4 verses 8 to 9. It was a shortcut, a way to power without the suffering, a way to rule without the cross. But Jesus saw through the illusion. He knew that accepting that offer would mean forfeiting everything, and so he refused. This is exactly what they will do to you. Just as you are about to step fully into your calling, just as you are on the verge of breaking through, they will place something in your path. It will seem perfect. It will come wrapped in everything you have ever wanted. But it will require something from you. Some small compromise, some subtle return to your old ways, some slight alignment with the system you have been trying to escape. And that is the trap. It may come as a sudden job opportunity, one that offers more money, more comfort, but slowly pulls you back into an environment that drains your spirit. It may come in the form of an old relationship, a person from your past who suddenly reappears, offering the familiarity and security you once craved, but at the cost of your growth. It may even come in the form of a new friendship or mentor, someone who seems to understand everything you are going through, but whose real purpose is to gently guide you back into alignment with the very forces you were breaking free from. The danger of this final test is that it does not feel like an attack. It feels like relief. After everything you have been through, after all the trials and battles, it feels like a reward, like a sign that you are finally free. But the truth is, the real battle is not over. It has simply entered its final phase. Because this is where most chosen ones fall. They take the offer. They accept the shortcut. They mistake the counterfeit for the real thing. And just like that, they are drawn back into the very system they fought so hard to leave. This is why discernment is crucial. You must learn to recognize the difference between a true blessing and a disguised chain. Not every open door is meant to be walked through. Not every opportunity is from God. Sometimes, the thing you want most is being used against you. They know what you crave. They know what will tempt you. And they will use it, not with force, not with threats, but with something that looks like an answered prayer. This is why Jesus warned in Matthew 7 verses 13 to 14 about the narrow gate and the wide road. The narrow path is difficult, and few find it. But the wide road is easy, welcoming, lined with everything that appeals to human nature. And that is why so many choose it. If you recognize this test in your own life, if you are standing at the crossroads right now, comment, "I see the trap" below. Because seeing it is the first step to escaping it. Once you recognize their game, you can no longer be played. And this is where the real journey begins. Because once you refuse their final offer, once you make the choice to walk the narrow path, you step into a life that most people will never experience. They know who you are now. The question is, what will you do next? The time for waiting is over. If you are choosing to step fully into your purpose, comment, "I choose freedom" below. Like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications. The battle is only beginning. Will you win it?